I'm part of IT-Conductor and also sister company Aws, and we're in the business of SAP management for more than 20 years. As an on-premise as well as in the cloud provider for SAP, and we're talking not only HANA, but the complete SAP ecosystem. So as you can see here, SAP running on Oracle, HANA, Sybase, DB2, business objects, etc., etc. So the whole NetWeaver stack. We do cloud deployment and monitoring as well as the complete lifecycle management of the migration. So why go to a cloud? It's really to look at managing more with less. So most customers are now trying to roll out more applications, more platforms, and trying to do that in an economical, fast, and with less resources. And that's both on the machine resources versus also the expertise. So in the cloud, IT-Conductor does monitoring and management and automation of SAP environment without software. So it's a management as a service. And the idea here is that, we can provide the automation for the monitoring, and as part of it, we can manage the resources proactively and then help you optimize your environment and investment while you're in the cloud. And we support both the on-premise as well as the cloud platform. So it's a hybrid approach. Regardless of where you run your SAP environment, we're able to remotely monitor, manage, and deploy services that will help you optimize your performance.
Managing Sap Hana on AWS is simple for us to scale up from 128 gig to a 244 gig when the instance requires from processing demand. Simply use the scale up or scale out architecture of AWS and Ocean 9, and now we can see the instance size has changed.
What you're seeing here is our IT-Conductor platform. I'm logged into an account that essentially has this demo environment, the HANA environment, that was added just fairly recently. Essentially, if you spin up an environment, you subscribe to our platform and you add a system. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3 step, and within a few minutes you'll be able up and discovering the environment and start monitoring. So there's nothing much to discuss there. So I'll show you roughly what the idea here is, that we have the ability to discover the depth of the HANA environment, just like what we do with most of the SAP environment, NetWeaver, etc. So what you see here is the HANA environment. We can just click on to get information. So this is SP12 looks like, and looks like we are fully discovered here. We have a couple of hosts. We also have most of the HANA services that are automatically discovered. As you can see here, we have some yellow alerts. So this is all impact analysis in terms of impacting the overall service. If you can visualize the HANA environment as the service you're delivering to your application, anything that might impact the service performance or availability, we track. So as again here, when the system was first brought online, we started monitoring that, and you can see the availability at 100%. But not only at the database level, at individual services, we also can monitor in depth in terms. So I looked here in terms of what the index environment is. So we have looks like a memory footprint that has grown up. And because we actually simulate the load, as we discussed before, the importance of being able to drive some load. So on this system, there's a demo schema that we looked at. In fact, I think I'm going to go there real quick and just explain what we did. Here we have the New York City cap. It's kind of a data for demo load, and we already picked up that within the database there's a bunch of schema. Looks like there's about 33 gig worth of data in that schema. So we threw a few synthetics against that database to generate the load. So the ability for us not only to monitor but be interacting with the managed system is fairly crucial. As you can see here, some of the jobs that we run, and I won't go into there, but we basically behind the scene automated that. And you can see already the physical memory has exceeded some threshold that we've put on this system. And you can see that we've got an alarm here that says that there's an alert here. So if we were to go into the system and say, what kind of alerts I've got going on, we've got some index physical memory alert. Okay, now how do we do this in terms of being able to do a health discovery of the environment? We can either go into alert view and see that we have some alerts here. These are not just static graphs. We can actually click into these. It will take you to the interval where the issue occurred, so you can see a whole bunch of alerts that were detected. We can see here that there's a memory complaint that the yellow cab taxi, some queries have exceeded 30% of the allocation limit of the HANA environment. Okay, so these are examples of being able to get detection on how the system's performing and whether it's impacting the service. Things like the response time, for instance. We can put response times on many things, whether at the service level or transaction level. We can also look at things like what was the workload running on the system. You can see here that we have detection of, for instance, here there is a SQL that will run on the systems. So we can actually see, what were some of these big SQLs that are generating the workload on there and how much time that it ran. So this is native monitoring of HANA, and this is done via cloud platform. And so with this, we can also interact with the system. So for example, when we do see there is a workload that's causing performance problem, we can then associate some auto recovery action, and one of that might be to scale up the environment. And so this is the point where we switch back to Ocean 9 and say, hey, there's an issue here. We can automate the actual switch over or scale up or scale out, and the ability to do that can be on any of these, what you decide to be the threshold that you want to take action on. So for instance, if you have a lot of waiting threads, then you can do that as an action. If you have a lot of running threads that go beyond a certain limit, you can do that as well. And so all of these can be actions where you can automate the performance management of the system. We give some as a template out of the box, but essentially you can do that as an override for customer-specific environment.
Now that we have monitored the primary side, let's take a look at the AWS setup. We have both the primary and the secondary. So essentially we are going to be able to scale out or scale up and initiate failover between the sites. So from IT-Conductor standpoint, we should be able to monitor via the virtual IP address of the service, whether it's running on primary or on secondary. So here you can see the primary site that is essentially 122 gigabyte running on AWS instance. And then we are going to take a look at the cluster. So the secondary site is 244 gig, which basically indicate that we have failover or we have scaled out to a larger node based on the processing requirement we can see here. And the indication of that system has gone up in size. From here on, we can switch back to IT-Conductor.
So from our platform perspective, when you do fail over to another instance, typically you would fail over the virtual IP or the DNS hostname. There's nothing for us to do in terms of monitoring per se. Okay, you see now?
Yeah.
Everything's red. Hey. So essentially, the failover is fairly quick, as you can see that the automation job has done a great job at that. So on our overall system, you can see it fairly, because we configure by default availability, I think over 15 minutes. If it dips below a certain percent, that you will see it. We'll get some definition on that, but essentially you can see hardly it glitch at all, right? So the system, in some cases, users may not even know that it's something that's happened. But as you can see, over the period where we've been generating the load, we've actually had response time alerts that come up. And that's, in a case where you're trying to do a quick analysis of what happened, we give you the ability to kind of pop up as many of these charts as you want and see what happened on the system, right? So it's some visually correlation is very quick. And in terms of being able to, if you went in here and you say, I've got an alert now, my system has some issue, what are some of the automated ways for us to give you root cause analysis in this particular case, what I've gone into is an automated HANA Health, which we fully discover the environment, and then we relate all the components so that if you have no clue what happened and what was the cause, you can go in here and look at the components of a particular service, and that gives you the ability to say, well, it looks like there's some red thing here, maybe availability or maybe the actual service has some issues. So we give you the visual correlation, time synchronized data on the same chart, and it's a different presentation. It says analytics view where you can say, well, like I said, I've got some response time here, I've got some memory issue, and maybe I have some alert across my system. I can take a look at some other metrics like, my running threads. So it's very easy to go from a 30,000 feet level down to, from a service level down to a component level, and maybe it's even if you have a storage base on some array that you may have issues about the failover, maybe the storage is not available or ran out of space. Again, we can quickly do that and put it on all the same chart. So this is what we call kind of a health explorer to help you drill down and be able to figure out where the root cause of the problem is. But essentially, we're pulling this data natively from HANA, and again, nothing installed. The ability for us to do this, to monitor a system that just went from site A to site B without having you to touch anything, without dependent on agent, is kind of like the power there. And so ideally, what you have ability to do now is that focus on your primary core service delivery. So you can see that this is the last pop-up I put up here. You can see that we went from a 60 gig instance over to a 125 gig, 120 gig instance. So we automatically detect that there was a change in the configuration, so we went over that. So that's all automated, and hopefully if you're interested, I think this is kind of the very easy to get up and running and see for yourself. So